Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and we are continuing to celebrate season 14 here on Reiki Radio, but also the launch of a new podcast to support you on your path, Awakening Airwaves. So, as I mentioned to you on Monday, Awakening Airwaves will feature shows from teachers and practitioners to give you more information and support and perspective about these journeys that we're on and about what it is we're all experiencing. So it's just more of a resource for all of us in the community to learn and grow through and exchange. So today you're going to meet some new hosts on Awakening Airwaves. Their show will be called Seek and Surrender. And the hosts of this show are Kayla and Rosalyn. So their show, Seek and Surrender, is about exploring energy, spirituality, and personal growth without pretending that they have it all figured out. They're sharing what they're learning, questioning, and trying, and inviting you to vibe, laugh, and grow with them along the way. It actually reminds me a lot of how Reiki Radio started when I was just simply sharing with you what it is I was practicing, what I was experiencing, what I was questioning, and now here we are. So I'm sure that you will enjoy the exchanges, the conversations with Kay and Roslyn. They have a lot of fun on their podcast together. So again, be sure that you go follow Awakening Airwaves on all of your favorite podcast platforms and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Awakening Airwaves. The links to connect are down in the show description. But let's hear directly from them what the show is about and what they are up to in their practice at this time. Sit back, enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, welcome to today's episode on Reiki Radio. Today I'm here with Roslyn and Kay of Seek and Surrender, which will be airing on Awakening Airwaves. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. So there's a lot to unpack, especially because we have both of you here. I'm very excited about the upcoming podcast. But before we talk about that, I wanted to let everyone know a little bit more about you, and I will learn about you guys as well. So let's just start with the realm of Reiki, energy work, meditation, these things, which you all will be talking about. How did you, Rosalind, start in this work? How did you get on this path and what was going on in your life at the time?
Yeah, this was probably like 2017, 2018, dealing with a lot of anxiety, like to the point of being afraid of like being out in public, certain public situations, like I think I was afraid of my apartment neighbor, like just out of balance, to say lightly. And somehow I stumbled upon a teacher who teaches like a more self energy healing based out of China tradition, and started doing that and saw just such a change in my overall feelings, and I felt like I could actually be human again and like enjoy life. And yeah, it was such a, I was actually trying to remember exactly when. I know it was like May because it was my birthday. I remember doing this meditation that they provided, and I think this was probably like 2017 or 2018. And I just had such a powerful experience, and like just this, it was the first time I really felt energy move. And it was like just one of those mind blowing, like I wasn't afraid of it. I was it was a meditation that was so enjoyable. And so I was like hooked at that point. I was like, something's happening. This is really great. And so I kept doing that for about a year. And then through a chain of events, found a Reiki teacher through a yoga class and sound bowl healing and all of this. And then just got totally hooked on that and was like, I have to learn this because I just really wanted to, if I found so much help through energy healing, I was like, surely I can help other people
Yeah.
work through whether it's anxiety or, whatever is going on. So yeah, that got me into Reiki. I found your podcast, and I was trying to look back. I think the first class I signed up for with you was in like 2019 at some
Wow.
point. So it's been a while,
Yes, we've
but
known
yeah.
each other a while then. Yeah, when I was talking to Melinda earlier, it's like we've known each other at least 5 years. I know. But yeah, it's always interesting to hear how everyone finds this work or this work finds you. So what was going on with you at the time, Kay, when you got into meditation or energy work?
Yeah, for me, it was just, I was so curious. It started super simple with meditation. And then anyone who's in this work knows it just kind of snowballs, So one thing usually leads to another. Um, then I started taking intuitive classes, and that just made me feel super empowered, like having those tools to navigate life. It's like, why don't they teach this to kids? Like, why is that not like a fundamental thing that we learn? And I was very excited, and it did help with anxiety too. And then I got into Reiki more recently. I've always had it done. I've always had sessions for myself, but I've never really studied it officially till more recently. So, and that's been a lot of fun too,
Yeah.
to be on the other side.
Yeah, so that is the thing. So a lot of people listening are either just curious about energy work or are already in the realm of dancing with it. And so I'm curious from your point of view, what is it that you noticed started to change within you when you started really diving in? Did you notice any shifts within yourself? What even drew you in to stay connected to this work? You can go, Kay.
Okay. The shifts, it was just kind of seeing my life from a zoomed out perspective and not just being so deep into the day to day and getting so caught up in the stress and the dramas and the anxieties. It's just taking like going into another space and into a different space that allows you to kind of like give yourself more space to like think and be creative and like plan. So that was a beautiful thing for me, and it helped me really just grow as a person.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep doing it, because sometimes I'll admittingly I will do it when I really really need to, like meditation for example. But doing it every day is so powerful, and the benefits are just, I couldn't go backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it changes you forever. What about you, Razi?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like you start to commit to it and you reap the benefits of like, oh, this thing that would have completely thrown me for a loop or, got me pretty upset or, whatever. You're like, oh, I guess I don't have to react that way. I can take a new perspective and not invalidate the feelings that come up, but it's just seeing them in a different light and seeing them in a way that's more manageable. And I just feel like I've noticed just an overall balance and peace that comes from just, yeah, the commitment and being willing to like dig deep. And, but then again, it doesn't have to be hard either. It's just like the daily commitment of setting time for yourself. And that's a hard ask sometimes in how
Yeah.
busy our lives are, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. You both have this way of blending this work with more of traditional lifestyles, so to speak. And a lot of people come in this work and they think it has to be either or. Like, can I keep my day job and keep whatever my other passions may be and still give time and attention to this practice? So, could you talk about that, Rosalind? Like the balance of, having a normal 9 to 5 and also committing to your studies and your practices?
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that when I first, it was probably one of my first like learning Reiki. I was like, oh, this is so much more satisfying. This could be like everything I want in a job, have my own business, whatever, like the thrill of that. And then the reality of like, I was still pretty young and didn't have like much to my name. So that kind of reality like wasn't attainable right away. But yeah, I have a regular 9 to 5 job. I work in the advertising industry, so very different from this kind of, realm of thinking and working. But I will say, I mean, I don't know if I've been at my company for almost 10 years now, so I don't know if people would remember like the difference from before to like once I started this work, but I do get people coming up to me and they're like, "How do you not get stressed out? Like that just happened to you and you just sat there and you were so peaceful. Like how did you not yell? Like how did you not?" And I'm like, I don't know. It just didn't seem worth it. Like the work just kind of shifts how you react to everything. And I've enjoyed having the stability of having a regular 9 to 5 job and being able to explore all of this. And I think at first it was hard to maybe set aside and make time for, dedicating to classes or just meditation and things like that. But the benefit of it just in your mind and like your entire body just makes the commitment so much easier to make. And like maybe I'm waking up in the morning an hour earlier than I would have to, but the benefit of like giving myself time to check in with where I am, set intention for the day, catch up on a class or anything, like it's just so worth it. And then it stops feeling like some type of obligation or
Yeah.
difficulty. It's just, it makes everything better.
Yeah, and I'm glad you share that because again, a lot of people wonder, is it possible? Can I do this and still manage every other area of my life? And there are so many different ways that you can manage that, balance that. And I'm sure you guys will share more about what your day to days look like with your practices on your podcast, Seek and Surrender. But Kate, what has that been like for you? And can you tell everyone what you do?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
First, I just like to say, Ross and I totally relate to that. And I think this work too, it makes you more aware of your thoughts and like you just don't complain. You don't just get caught up in the negativity, So there's that too. But I do video, brand building, social media. I worked at a marketing agency for like 7 years, but now I'm doing my own thing. And for me, it's not so much a balance, but like an integration. So I just put this work into my work. You know what I mean? Like very intentional. Like every time before a project, I have like a process, like a little mini meditation, that I do, and it kind of helps everything flow and it gets me in like a creative state. So I put the work into my processes, which has been helpful. And it's a lot easier too now because I'm working alone. So I don't have to deal with people so much. But when I did, same, I was just kind of like in the fire and not of the fire. And sometimes that rubs off on people too. So I could see the changes, my coworkers even like I'd be like not purposefully, but like giving them little tips and like tricks to how to stay calm and not be stressed. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing
Yeah.
to integrate.
Well, it's funny listening to what both of you said. I'm going to ask you both two separate things that have to do with knowing you both personally. Haha, a little bit of reveal. So I do know, like with you, Kayla, for example, doing this work, the meditations, the energy work, all of the different things that you have interest in. I always joke with you about the kind of manifester you are. And when you set your mind to something, and then because Kayla will like call me and say, "Oh, I have this idea, or this is the thing that I want." And then you just, the way you make things happen for yourself is, I can only laugh at the way that it always pans out. Can you talk a little bit about how the practices and the things that you do, how you have integrated that into how you create in your life?
Man, it's funny to me because I don't really have it down. Sometimes it just happens and I'm like, how is this happening? Like how? Like I do the work, but sometimes it's still just a mystery. And I think that's a beautiful thing too. But I
Yeah.
feel like when I write things down, that's super powerful for me. And usually once I write it down, it's like that's it. And I don't really have any doubt in my mind. it's hard to have doubt when you've seen miracles over and over and over. So I think that lack of doubt too helps to kind of manifest things,
Yeah.
because you're not thinking about where it's going to come from or how. It's just like, I know it's going to come, so I'm just going to relax and move on to the next thing. And I'm not even thinking about that thing, and then it comes up, you know. So I can't say like how, but I think it's just the not doubting too, you know.
Well, I mean, but that's big stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
that is a
even
big
just
thing.
hearing you say that,
And I'm
like,
like, pass that my way, please.
just doubt. Don't doubt. Just know it's done and it's done.
Mhm.
But have you just always naturally been that way, or have you learned how to be less attached to things?
Definitely learned, because it's gotten easier. It used to happen like sporadically, but now it's like if I want something, like yeah, I can't be attached to it. Sometimes I feel like the things that I think that I want that I haven't got yet, it's like maybe my soul doesn't really want that. Maybe I don't really want that on a soul level. Maybe it's just for ego or just for vanity, because it's like if I wanted it, then I wouldn't be so attached, you know? So yeah, definitely not being attached in that way to things makes it come way easier.
Interesting. Maybe you guys will do a whole podcast on
I know, I'm like,
manifestation.
episode idea.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
truly. I'm like, you need to like take some notes and think of how you could really break this down for everyone.
Mhm.
Now, the thing I want to expose Rosalyn about, and knowing you, you always crack me up because you have these incredible like visuals and experiences in your meditations. And then you'll also have just very interesting, I would say, downloads when you move into those spaces of self connection. So I wanted to ask you about that. Was that something that was always just very natural for you, or has it evolved through your practice? Like, what do you attribute to you being able to be open enough to have the kind of experiences you have?
I will say, so before I started any of like this energy work or even like yoga or anything like that, I was scared of sensing energies. And because I think ever since I was young, I sensed energies, but being that young and not being introduced to the idea of anything other than like, oh, your guardian angel or, you know, things like that. Yeah, so I was scared. And I vaguely am remembering when I probably first started classes with you, I think it was really a thing for me of being like, you know, bringing up the fact of like, I don't know, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this, whatever. But I think what changed for me was trusting myself to set energetic boundaries and trusting that if I'm intending to only work with the highest, most loving energies, that is what will work with me. And I think just gaining that confidence of energetic boundaries and all of that was what really allowed me to relax into the experience of those deeper meditations. And yeah, I've had some amazing, I've had some bizarre, I've had you know, really deep and transformative meditations and experiences that have just shown me incredible things. I was thinking about this morning of kind of Takei's manifestation and like trusting without doubt. There was one meditation that kind of got brought back to my awareness today of being kind of in the cosmos and having my guides like just floating in the cosmos, this beautiful scene, you know, unattached to anything, and setting an intention or having a way forward and seeing my guides, their hands coming under my feet with every step I took. And it was just like one of those beautiful visuals. And sometimes it's visual, sometimes it's more word, but yeah, having those experiences is just, it's fun, and it kind of expands your awareness and it opens up your mind to new possibilities. And yeah, it's it's pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah. So that's the part I want to ask both of you because I know Kay has really interesting insights and beautiful meditations as well. And I wanted to ask you both about this from the lens of because some people may want to do some work to intentionally connect with guides or these kinds of things. And it can be interesting in a lot of ways. But in a more practical sense, how has working with yourself and allowing yourself to kind of tap into these other aspects of your own consciousness and awareness of your own body and awareness of your own energy, how does that play into the way that you deal with your day to day life and how you function? Has it changed anything, even your relationships to yourselves? What about you, Kay?
Um, I feel like I've always been pretty self-aware, but this is just like a heightened self-awareness. And usually any emotion or thought that comes up, I question. I don't just let it be. I want to know why, you know? So sometimes I'll sit there and I'll think, okay, you're feeling this, but why? And then just go deeper until I figure out the root of it. The root of it, if it's a negative thought, it's usually something to do with the ego. Um, and that's a big lesson for me too. It's like when you remove the ego, like life is so different when you operate from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I think that's a big thing too that maybe we don't expect. And I want to ask you guys about that in a second as well. But what about you, Rosalie? Has this work and the experiences within it added to the way that you function in the day to day?
I think it's just made life so much richer. I think it's so easy to just think like how mundane. I'm just this body, this human, like functioning in the world, and that's it. That's where it stops. That's all. You stop at the analytical and everything like that. But then once you start opening up to these experiences and having these meditations and like, yeah, gaining more peace, gaining, changed mindsets, more positive outlooks, and clearing your channels and being more aware of how energy comes in and affects you and all of that. It's like, oh wow, like I'm not just this body, like I'm a whole thing, like experiencing this whole planet. And yeah, I think I am connected to everything. And I think I do notice when I'm influenced by outer energies or I influence energies, and it just becomes so rich and kind of like what Kay was saying, like it's so interesting when you catch yourself in a moment that you might not have before, and you're like, oh, why did I react that way, or why did that person react that way? And it's you can get kind of into the analytical with it, but also just like recognizing the intuitive, like how you're feeling, what you're picking up on in all the realms of the unseen that we might have just brushed off before. So yeah, I just think it adds so much to day-to-day life. I don't think I have many days now where I'm like, oh gosh, this is so mundane. I'm so tired of the daily drag. I'm like, oh, let me just go sit down for half an hour. I'm sure I could do something really cool.
It's so true. Were you going to say something, Kay?
Yeah, I was thinking like just talking about how you learn a whole completely different side of how your body works. Like you're not just the body, like Rosin was saying. It's like it would take more than a lifetime to learn everything there is to know. So it's kind of fun knowing that. And that's what keeps me going too with studying. It's like I'm never going to get it done. So it's just like there's something new that surprises me and blows my mind every day. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm.
And that's the thing too. I mean, even when you mentioned before, Kay, about, softening the ego and really questioning ourselves, like what's our motivation, right? Am I making these decisions from my fear? Am I making these decisions because it feels aligned with what's true for me? I don't think a lot of times people necessarily realize how practical this work is. We talk a lot about it being healing, and we think more in the terms of how it may be great for pain management or, healing our wounds and our traumas. And of course, it's great for all of that. But just even on the very base level, the way that it gets you to observe yourself and do these things of maybe making decisions in a different way or manifesting in a different way or recognizing, like what Rosalind said, that you're more than just this body. And so now life becomes more interesting. You know, where you are right now, what is it that is your personal focus? Is there anything in particular that you're playing with right now that stands out to you in your practice at this time? What's been coming up as like fun for you recently? Raza?
I'll say it's such a mixed bag right now. But overall, I've been simplifying. So, where a morning meditation might be Reiki, throw in Oracle or tarot cards, throw in like guided meditation, like it could have been like any long list of fun things that are wonderful.
Yeah.
But right now, it's more about simplifying and really just letting each day kind of lead
Yeah.
and whatever I need in that moment be the thing that I need. So working with, especially just like I'm still working with guides, and I kind of take the guidance there of tapping into higher mind and just asking, what am I not seeing? What am I needing today? What do I need to be aware of? In terms of like a fun thing that I'm focusing on is I saw somebody online doing telekinesis, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's really a thing. And just in like, they were practicing with like a piece of tinfoil on a needle, and I was like, I don't know if I believe that. So I was like, well, I'm gonna play with it, whatever. So I've spent the last couple of months just like toying with it, and I've really loved it. And yeah, I do. I think it's a thing. And it's just fun to find little random tools like that. But that's my focus right now, is more simplifying and then playing around with things here and there.
Yeah. Oh, it's really cool that, and maybe you'll talk about that too. I feel like you guys are dropping little nuggets. Maybe you'll go into more detail behind the practice you've been doing, because I know there's more to that story. But I love that you all are highlighting as well that our practice changes. And what you may feel drawn to do 1 month or 1 week, you may feel shifted to direct your attention to something else the following week. But it's incredible when you have all of these options available. And then again, just trusting how you're being guided, like making your practice your own, not designing it based on somebody else or what you think you're supposed to do, but just what works for you. So, what's been coming up for you lately, Kay? What's been your focus?
I feel like it's like a cheat code for work, but I've been focusing on the integration part. So just like coming up with ideas. Sometimes because sometimes you're tapped out, and you can't come up with stuff. So what I do is I'll take a walk, and like the first half of it, I am just thinking about things that I'm grateful for. And that kind of puts me literally in motion, like with my body, but it also gets me like energetically moving, thinking about things I'm grateful for. And it puts me in a different space, than I
Yeah.
was before. And then I'll get my phone out with a notes app, and I won't think purposely. I'll just kind of walk. And then before you know it, ideas are just coming and coming. And I'm just like writing them down really fast. Um, and that's been working consistently. So I feel like I'm like putting quarters in a machine, and ideas are just coming out. So, and I thank the work for that. So
Yeah.
it's energy.
Look at that. An idea hack.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm just thinking, okay, so this is a good transition into talking about the podcast. So we collectively have a new podcast that is premiering in June. And within this podcast platform, there are various shows that will be available. And the two of you have a show together called Seek and Surrender. And as everyone can see, they have a lot to share with you about their practices and what works and what their experiences are. I want to ask first about the name, because I know you guys did a dance about that. So I imagine there is a reason that you came up with Seek and Surrender. And how does that point to what it is that we can expect from your conversations?
I guess, yeah, we had quite the journey of trying to find a name. I mean, we were like stumbling around in the dark for a while. But I think there were a few ideas that kind of led us to this, that it was just, how do we acknowledge the journey and acknowledge the part of the process. And I think kind of what we've talked about so far, like you're always looking for the work and having to let go within the work. So seek and surrender was kind of one that popped up that was like, oh, that touches on something. I think that's relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting go in the work. That's huge. I'm going to come back to that. What about you, Kay? What do you hope to share with people when they tune in?
Just like the practical side and stories of how the work has showed up in miracles in different ways, and just like practical ways that you can use the energy like on day to day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of us are looking for. I mean, honestly, there are so many resources available now where we can learn and, I don't know, you can Google just about anything at this point, but it's really different when you hear people who are actually practicing and what the results have been or what you guys are curious about and what you're experimenting with. I think that way we learn a lot through the conversation. So, even speaking about that with what you just said a moment ago, Rosalyn, letting go in the work. Like just like Kayla was saying about being non-attached to her manifestations, can you talk about some ways where you have found you have to let go in the work? What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's when the uncomfortable things come up. It's when the hard truths come to the surface, and it's like the things that you realize might be your reality or a way that you function, and maybe you're unhappy with that. And it's the choice to say, okay, let me work through this, or let me let go of this and let me heal this, or let me process this in a different way. But I think too, I know I've come into several situations where, you know, you'll be practicing your daily practice and you're like, oh, wow, this is great. This is helping me, blah, blah, blah. And then bam, it's like, I'm having the worst day of my life and I'm, I'm upset and I'm frustrated or I don't understand and not like the throwing a tantrum, but like, I don't feel like this is going my way and this isn't what I was trying to manifest. And I think it's in those moments where you have to go back to the practice that has made you feel good all those days before and think, let me let go. Let me surrender to this moment and just trust that this is all part of the unfolding and this is the next step and it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to tell me something about myself that I may or may not like. And then I can move forward through it. But it's just that journey of having the best ride and then the not so best ride and having to say, all right, hands are off the wheel. Like, let's really trust the work to get me through this.
Yeah. How has that been for you, Kay? The ups and downs through the process.
Yeah, with surrendering specifically, I know in Reiki we learned that you can't ever really get it right or get it wrong, sorry. So it's like getting out of your head and just letting the energy flow. Um, that's been big for me because it's like sometimes you're the person that's in your way, of growth. So it's like getting out of your own way and surrendering. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that has been one of the probably biggest challenges I've heard people say
Hmm.
of, how do I let go? How do I? Because I think one of the biggest things that come up in this work that a lot of people may not know until they're in it is there is this tug of war that starts to happen where you still are familiar with your old ways of being, your old conditions, your old stories. And then you start doing this work and you start to have these ideas and these insights about a new way of handling things or a new way of being and responding in your life. But then that old part of ourselves will still peek its head in like, no, 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 no.
Like, don't let me go.
Don't let me go. Yeah, this is not how we function. This is not what we do. So even that is a dance. So I think it's actually really cool that you guys have that surrender piece in your name because that is a big, big part of this work. So, speaking of, you mentioned Reiki. I wanted to ask you about that. When people ask you about Reiki, you think about how you have implemented it into your own life. Like, what even comes to mind when you think of what Reiki is? That might be even beyond just, again, what people may think it is.
And explaining Reiki in simple terms, it is so like painfully simple in essence, but to explain it, it's hard. Like I have two younger brothers, they're 10 and 12, and they were asking me what it was. Oh man, that was difficult. And they had so many questions, and I was like, it's like I'm giving you good vibes. And they're like, well, I already have good vibes. I'm like, well, here's more. So it was pretty hard to explain, but yeah, it's just energy. But sometimes that even sounds too simple. So it's like, how do you break that down?
Hmm. Yeah. What does it feel like to you? Like when you think about what you're working with, like, do you,
I feel like it's like potent, and it's like the highest form of energy, which for me is like love. So that's why I feel like I'm just giving unconditional love, and I'm receiving it at the same time that I'm giving it. So there's not really, you lose a sense of like giving and receiving, because it's like, it's just you become one with that person in that
yeah.
moment, and it's just like a cycle. So, and the energy is moving, and both of you are really getting a healing. So yeah, it's beautiful and powerful.
See, well, that was a beautiful description. What about you, Razi? What do you think about when you think about Reiki?
Yeah, it still is such a challenge for me to talk to people about it because you also are like, kind of like what Kay was saying, like you're like, okay, well, who am I talking to? So what kind of lens can I like talk through this with? But yeah, it is a challenge to talk about because obviously it's so deep and transformative when you're using it for yourself, whether it's like the precepts or the symbols or whatever like meditation that kind of runs with Reiki. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's everything and nothing at the same time. Like it's just it is that just perfection of energy and just a connection of all things and the love that runs through all things and the energy that just connects us all and gives us life and gives that person life and gives that animal life. And it's incredible. And I probably won't ever get to a point where I'm like, this is what it is. I'm going to tell you in the most perfect way.
It's
I don't
hard to
think I'll get there.
it's hard to explain it not in a poetic way. It's just like
True.
Well, it's funny because listening to both of you describe it, I mean, both descriptions are beautiful, but it also brings to mind how there's that thing of you don't really understand it until you experience it, and then again, it's hard to articulate. And some say it's not even meant to be put into words. It's just an experience to be had, which, I agree. It is very hard to put into words how vast it is and everything that it touches and how it changes you. But we try. So, aside from that, though, on the podcast, I know that you all will talk about different facets of Reiki and energy work and your experiences. Before we get into other things that you practice, how did you two meet? And we can admit that I was like, you two should get together and do the show. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. We met through I guess it was our Reiki 1 class in San Diego. So, yeah, that started it all. And then
Started the
Yolanda
train.
ever so I wouldn't say voluntold, but that's the word that came to mind. In the best of ways said, bring your minds together.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, there's two things to this. One, I will say you both have a lot of similarities in your experiences, and you both have very interesting ways of talking about all of this. And I know because I've had conversations with both of you individually, but it's also that thing of there's this relatability, I think, between the two of you. Like Kay even joked, she's like, "Oh yeah, we're the millennials in the group," because I think you two were the youngest people in the class. Now that I think about it, you really were. But what was that like for you being in that space with everyone, Kay, in the Reiki retreat?
Um, it was cool. There were so many different perspectives and different levels of practice there. I learned so much from everyone, and I'm super grateful, for doing it. I think the first class versus the second class, it was a completely different experience. I think the first class was more about learning how to surrender and get out of your own way. And then the second class, once I was surrendered and ready to really get in there, it was, you can't describe it. It's like these were strangers a couple months ago, now it's like tribe.
Yes.
So it was very cool.
Yeah, I think that even speaks to what Razi was saying earlier of both of you mentioned to some degree like this connection that happens when we do energy work and you start to you meet these people come in as strangers and then the next thing you know you're really it's like family. So with that in mind, also wanted to ask why it matters to you each. Like why would you even want to share what you've been experiencing with others? How do you think it'll be of any help?
I think it's just like you said, the relatability of of all of it, and I think the state of life currently is challenging, and I think everyone's feeling it, and I think it's easy to see extremes, and it's easy to see discomfort, and it's easy to get angry and frustrated. And I just think that the conversation about energy work and Reiki and meditation, it's becoming more alive, I feel like, in the collective world. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. And I think Kay and I have had really incredible experiences. And kind of as to what you were saying, like when you connect with someone through this work, the walls come down, and not out of obligation. It comes down because you feel safe and you feel validated in your feelings and your experiences, and not in any gimmicky or cheesy way. Like it's a true like opening of the heart and vulnerability. And like Kay was saying, like we met a group of 14, 15 strangers, and by the end of a weekend we're like, all right, you're some of my people and you're gonna be some of my people, just because of the willingness to see each other in those moments. And so that's kind of my hope for the podcast, is just that we can bring it to a relatable level and talk about a wide variety of things. And, hopefully that means that people that connect in feel like that they're maybe validated in what they're experiencing, but also that they have resources and they're kind of seen in their own experiences, even though they're just listening. I just hope that it's kind of a bridge.
Yeah. 100% it'll be. I'm kind of laughing on the inside because I'm like, you guys don't even realize you're about to create and welcome community, right? I mean, you think about it, you know, not Kay and I met in San Diego, but a lot of the people that are a part of this and everyone listening, like, we've met each other through the podcast and we've become community through that. And everyone who came to the Reiki retreat, for example, they were all, we all met through the podcast. But to your point, at this work, there's just something so beautiful about people feeling safe to be vulnerable, but we all need community. And so that's why I'm really excited too about what you all will offer and share with everyone, because like you said, people will feel validated in their experiences. They'll get to hear some tips and tools that will help them on their path, but you don't even know yet. You're going to help people feel like they have connection and community where they may not have it in their day-to-day life. So I wanted to ask you both before we go, because time is almost up. What are some things that you may want to talk about what are some things that you might want to explore a little deeper or share with people about what you practice and experiment with on this path? Go ahead.
Um, Before getting into that, do you mind if I backtrack just a few? I just have a
Go
couple.
ahead.
I just want to say why it's important to me too for sharing this with everyone because I'm kind of like I guess traditionally shy. Not really, but I'm quiet. So this was new for me, like being behind the camera. And it's important for me to share because when I was younger, I think if you are looking or if you're curious and you're looking for something, you're going to find it. But it was such a different experience back then because there were a lot of older people on YouTube and they all looked the same, you know? So they were, it was all good stuff, but it was just, you know, there wasn't a lot of good representation for a
Yeah.
younger group. So I kind of want to be that, help be that voice or make that voice bigger. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that makes all the sense in the world. And then
hmm
what are some things you want to talk about?
I want to talk about. I want to talk about manifesting. I want to talk about. I don't want to give too much away, but one thing I am excited about is the idea of like mind, body, spirit, and when those are aligned, like how it changes your life completely. So that's one thing that I'm actually focused energetically now in right now too. But that's one thing I'm excited to talk about and just
Yeah.
how energy fits into different aspects of life.
Yeah. And I just want to let everyone know too, the link to connect with Rosalyn and Kay will be down in the show description, and we'll include the link as well to the Awakening Airwaves page. And I'm saying that because they are recording now episodes as we speak. So if you have any questions for them or things you would love for them to talk about, be sure to connect with them and let them know. What about you, Rosie? Anything stand out that you want to explore?
Yeah, I second all of that, and I just love the idea of talking about how it shows up in our lives. I think that's really important, and I'm hoping that in a really free-flowing and fun way, like we can talk about all the different kind of roads we've gone down and things we've tried. You know, maybe some of the stuff that's stuck around, and maybe some of the stuff that hasn't.
Yeah.
And I think too, I think it's important that, or I really want to talk about how energy healing can be both structured and really open and intuitive and free flowing. I think that's one of the most helpful lessons I've learned from like your classes and the things that we've done is like you do what resonates with you, and that's important. And so I hope that we can kind of talk through some of that as well, just so that people don't get too intimidated by dipping their toe if they've never experienced any of this before. I think it's really easily attainable, and it shouldn't be like a scary thing to like try and see how it helps you. So hopefully we can talk about that too.
Yeah. Well, since you're sharing a little bit of this with us, could you tell us some of what's in your toolbox? Because I will say, and most people listening know, a lot of people joke that, you know, once you start on this path, no matter what the entry is for you, it could be Reiki, yoga, it doesn't matter what, it tends to open us up to other curiosities, and we may learn how to use other tools or practice other systems. What has been in your roster, Razi, of what you've either studied or some tools that you play with?
So current toolbox definitely has automatic writing. That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, daily meditation, whether that's guided or just kind of free flowing. I do really like using tarot and oracle cards. I try not to get too attached to using those. But I do use those. Let's see, sometimes sound healing. So like sound bowls and tuning forks and things like that. But I would say those would be like my main go-to grab when I need to move some stuff around.
Yeah. And I have to say, just to point out for everyone, you are also like a version of Mother Earth. I think Earth itself is a
Yes.
big part of your
I was
practice.
thinking literal things, physical objects. But yes, the earth, I'm like, if I don't get outside at least to walk like at least 3 to 4 times a week, I will be unwell, as we will say. But yes, nature is like huge for me. It's funny because like it's so ingrained that I didn't even think of that as an answer. But yes, it's a huge thing. The elements and everything, it's major for me.
Yeah, yeah, it is huge. And I think that's an important thing to point out only because I think all of us have an element that we resonate with more. So I am very much air oriented. I'm very, anything that has to do with the mind or consciousness, like I am there. But I'm not as, I would say, connected to earth intelligence in the way that you are. So it's a really cool thing where we have all of this variety in our own expressions where I could learn so much from taking one of your nature walks with you, and I would probably see things differently or experience it differently than if I did it on my own just because of your connection to that and the way that you work with that energy. So, yeah, you need some help with earth, call Rosalyn. Yeah. What about you, Kay? What's in your toolbox? What are some
Um,
things you've studied?
in my toolbox, it's meditation, oracle cards, my idea machine, um, and Reiki, like figuring out where in my body, I'm stuck in something. And that's
Yeah.
been it for right now.
Honey, listen, again, take note, do an episode on that where I'm stuck in my body. Don't we all need to know? Where am I stuck in my body? Where am I stuck in my life? Well, I'm
Hmm.
really excited that everyone will get to learn from the both of you and learn from your conversations. I know if I were off the screen right now, I can already tell you guys there's a fun banter between Rosalind and Kay. So I look forward to learning from your episodes. Everyone, be sure to tune in to Awakening Airwaves and listen to Seek and Surrender. You can learn more. Again, the way to connect with both of them is down in the show description. Is there anything else you want to share before we go, or you guys are
I'm just
feeling?
excited. I'm so excited. And we hope you tune in and we hope it's everything that we hope it's going to be. And yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah, same. I'm very excited.
yeah. Well, I'm excited too. So we'll see you over on Awakening Airways, everyone. And don't forget, send them any ideas that you may have that you would love to learn more about in terms of practice. We will see you soon. Okay, beautiful alchemist. First of all, I just want to thank Kay and Roslyn of Seek and Surrender for coming to share with us here on Reiki Radio, but more importantly, for sharing with us on Awakening Airwaves. Don't forget to subscribe to Awakening Airwaves on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including the YouTube channel Awakening Airwaves. That way you can tune in to all of the upcoming episodes, learn from all of the contributors. It's just a way, again, for us to continue to expand and learn and grow on these beautiful journeys and within our community. So I thank you all for being here. Be sure to go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com, sign up for the newsletter so you are up to date with everything that is upcoming. And don't forget that Awakening Airwaves will officially launch on June 11th, along with the website, The Reiki Class, where you can have easy access to reputable teachers and practitioners, even some that may be in your area, including some other resources to support you on your path. So thank you, as always, for being here. I look forward to seeing you next time. And remember to always journey in love.